Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and welcome to Trailouts. This is an arcade racing game that just came out today, at the time of recording anyway. By the time you guys see it, it'll be yesterday, but you know, that doesn't matter. This it's sorry, it kind of, I find that sort of thing funny. Anyway, so this is a pretty fun arcade racer, and I'm not playing this with a controller as you normally would expect with racing games because I can't find my controller, and this actually plays really well on a mouse and keyboard, which I wasn't expecting. Been having a lot of fun with this game over the last couple of days, and I streamed it recently on Twitch. So, by the way, if you're not following me on Twitch yet, link down in the description below or on screen if I remember to put it up there. Go check it out because I do stream games like this very often, and sometimes before the video comes out. So, if you want to see games early, that is the place to check it out. Now, let's see what Trail Out is like. So I've been playing this for a couple of days, so I have a few cars. Now, we're sort of like 10% into the game. There is a lot of content here. There's a lot of game to get through. So we're going to go to the junkyard. This is where you buy all of your cars. And you can see just how many cars there are. Now, these numbers at the bottom, this isn't the price of the car, so don't worry. You don't have to get $250,000 to go and buy a car. That's actually the amount of fans you need to unlock it. And then you can go and buy it, and they're actually surprisingly cheap. They're about $1,000 right now for the B class, and I'm thinking once it goes up more, and you can see how many cars there are. I'm guessing these cars are going to be about maybe $3,000 at the most. And these, yeah, obviously they are faster, but they are a different class altogether. Money-wise, you get about $1,000 or so at the minimum for winning a race. So it kind of balances out pretty nicely, and there's some nice little bonuses you can do to get more money out of it. Getting money and fans in this game is not difficult. So we have a look at the My Progress bar here. You actually have what's called the Fest app, which is how you track all of these things. So we have challenges, which will get us more fans. Donations, which will randomly appear, especially after a race. If you do really well, you get more donations. It's kind of like being a Twitch streamer sometimes. And then there are achievements. So once you do all these achievements, you get about $1,500 or $3,000 or so on as you go along. Some of these will be given to you after beating a boss fight, which is really cool. And then, of course, there are some for example, speed, eliminating opponents, purchasing vehicles. I almost said weapons. I don't know why. Finishing in first place 50 times. Yeah, there's quite a lot going on here. There's also... I almost closed that. There's also a very interesting thing you can do. Now, I can't show you yet because we're waiting for it to charge up. You can actually do sort of an Instagram or Facebook Live type deal and broadcast to your fans, which will get you more fans. It's a weird little system, but it kind of works for this game, and I'm not sure why. Like, seriously, I have no idea why it does this. But yeah, it's a little bit comical. This game itself is very indie, but it takes a lot of inspiration from nearly every arcade racing game. Right, so what do you do with the cars? Well, you can upgrade them, and you can race them. So upgrades, let's talk about that. So when you first get a car, it has nothing on it. It is just a shell, as you saw in the junkyard there. It is just a shell, and you have to put a body on it. You have to assemble it by getting all of the basic parts that you see on the screen here. So that all costs money. So to get a working car that's raceable, not great, but at least you can take it into a race, a level 1 of every single part, it's going to cost you around about $1,000, maybe $2,000. At B class, it's going to be around $3,000. So getting a car fully ready is around $3,000 to $4,000. That seems like a lot, but you can continue racing your other cars while doing this. So all these parts can be upgraded. The body... Oh, and our buddy over here, I think his name is Shenka, gives us free money. I didn't click it in time, but he does give us free money when we don't have enough. And this will affect the strength of the body right here. So this is how strong the body is. Some of the stats and words are not well translated. I believe it's made by a non-English speaking studio. So yeah, this basically in a nutshell affects the health and damage resistance of the vehicle, because this is a demolition derby style game. You're going to want a little bit of this, but it does the downside, of course, reducing its speed and acceleration. So you do have to decide whether you want to build your car for racing or demolition. Some cars are going to inherently be better than others at that. Now, engine, of course, pretty self-explanatory, gives us more power, and in this case, quite a lot more power. The only stat you cannot really change is the control stat, and that's the way that the vehicle handles, how quickly it steers. You don't have any way of modifying that. Suspension, for example, we have the level 3 suspension. What it does is actually increase the strength of the suspension, makes it harder to lose wheels. And the ECU affects your top speed and acceleration. The gearbox affects acceleration on its own. And then we have the wheels, which you would think affect control. They don't. They are purely cosmetic. And it's up to you, which ones you want to put on. The interesting thing here is the nitrous system. So the basic nitrous will fill up every time you do stunts or anything that gains points. Very much like Burnout. Anytime you hit an opponent, anytime you destroy something, whatever gets you points gets you nitrous boost. Otherwise, you have nothing. The double nitrous is used twice, so you have 2 bursts of it, and it's good for quick acceleration, but not good for top speed. It runs out very quickly. So this would be something you use for Demolition Derby, where the distance is short, but you want to get quick speed. And the refilling nitrous refills automatically over time. It still gets free nitrous from doing damage and doing stunts and things, but it refills slowly over time as well, and this is very good for long races where you need the boost more of the time. So even though it seems like these are different stages, they all have different purposes. I thought I'd explain that because the game doesn't really explain that at all. Now, paint jobs, the first 4 are just for looks. They don't do anything, but as it says, certain paint jobs grant bonuses, and that's the 2 at the end here. So a sponsored paint job gets us more money per race, and we have repairs for free, meaning you don't have to spend your own money repairing your car, because yes, car damage is persistent. Fan paint job will get us more fans and also give us free repairs, but you can see at the downside of costing triple the amount of a normal livery, so you want to be paying attention to that. Now, all of the cars in this game are based on real-world cars. They are sort of what you would call legally different. So here we have a Mark II Mustang, the police special. We also have... I wouldn't be able to tell you what this is because this is an Eastern European car. But we have, of course, the iconic Beetle. Yeah, a lot of very iconic cars, and of course many, many more. What you saw in the junkyard, by the way, isn't even all of the cars in the game, because some of them are locked behind achievements, some are locked behind beating bosses, and there are plenty more others that you discover along the way. But put it this way, you're not going to be short on cars. Now that we talked about all that, shall we get to racing? So, how do races work? You have the blacklist. If you've ever played Most Wanted, it works exactly the same way. You get enough fans, and you get enough medals and wins, you can challenge the next person on the blacklist. And that's the boss fight that I was talking about there. There's a free race mode as well, where you can race whatever you want, and even though the game doesn't technically have an online multiplayer, there is a split screen, but by virtue of Steam Play Together, this system is still in beta. You can play it this way. So you can actually play a split screen over the internet, which is a really, really cool thing to do. But technically, it doesn't have an online multiplayer component as such. This is sort of a way around that. But yeah, you can play against other people if you choose. The career mode is quite long. You can see just how many bosses there are and how many stages you have to get to each one. So I've already beaten Conrad, who's the first boss, and we're working our way towards Big Cheese. Let's be honest, a lot of these characters are references or throwbacks to other games, and one of those games is definitely GTA San Andreas, and you'll know exactly what I mean by that when you see what Big Cheese looks like. So, the races go across several stages, and we have each individual race right here. So, Domination is a Destruction Derby event. Last one standing wins. The Mono class is a race where everyone's forced to use the same car. Quite an interesting one there. Cross is a closed circuit race with a track that crosses over itself. And Rush is your typical circuit race. There are 2 kinds of rush modes, though. There is a sprint rush and a circuit rush. So if you see the number of laps here, you know whether or not. If it says it's a 1 lap, you know that it's a sprint race. So there's that. Escape is one I've not tried yet, so we're going to have a look at that one in just a second, but it does appear to be a night race, and I know night races on YouTube are a little hard to see. But let's jump into Rush first so I can show you some of the basic elements of this game. Now, let's pick our car. I think we're going to go with the Mango KL1, which I believe this is a Plymouth GTX. I think so. It's definitely an older car for sure. We also have our police cruiser, but given that this is a race, I want the faster car, so let's get on with it. Alrighty, and here we go. So our nitrous hasn't started filling up yet. We don't have the refilling nitrous on this car, so I kind of forgot to put that on. But already, things are off to a little bit of a rocky start. Let's get some distance going. Now, the music in the background, I've had to kind of basically mute it because I'm not sure if it's going to have some copyright issues on YouTube. But the soundtrack of this game is actually really good. It's a lot of relatively unknown indie artists and sound-alikes that are just really, really good. So they really add to the feel of this game. Ooh, there's environmental hazards. The maps are really nice and dynamic. Now, given that this is a Destruction Derby style game, you can absolutely wreck opponents. However, it's going to take a toll on your health as well. And I did not mean to do that. Thankfully, we have a reset button, so we can get on with it. And we set ourselves on fire, but that's okay. The fire goes away, that's fine. We have our health at the top right there, so of course when that reaches 0, we die. Not that needed explaining. Oh. And of course there are all sorts of different stunts you can do. There's drifting, but drifting is a little bit harder to do. It's not as simple as it is in some arcade racers. I will say the skill ceiling of this game is, or at least the skill floor anyway, is a little higher than I expected it to be. So you do have to be a little bit better with the controls than you would expect. This isn't... Put it this way, compared to Burnout, this is a substantially more difficult game. Burnout is the sort of game that you could win by holding down the accelerator and sticking with it. And this, definitely, if you did that, you would get killed pretty quickly. So, yeah, not to, you know, make fun of Burnout or anything, but this is a harder game than that. Some of the races are genuinely hard. Alrighty, so that is that race over and done pretty quickly, and we came in third, so that's not bad at all. But yeah, that's just a quick look at what some of the races look like. Now, after you finish in third or higher on a race, you get awarded a medal. And the idea is to complete a stage, you have to get a medal in every event. So at the minimum, you have to finish third. But to completely clear an event, you have to finish first. That eliminates that event completely from the stage and gives you all the remaining prize money. So that's definitely what you want to aim to do, but it means that you can keep trying an event until you come in first. Now, there is a downside to doing that. The prize fund will eventually deplete. So if you don't improve your position, you're not going to gain any more money. So grinding these races is absolutely not something you can do. You have to be improving every single time to actually get paid. However, gaining fans, that's something you can do bit by bit every time. But if you're not winning, you're not going to gain many fans at all anyway. Right, let's check out a cross event and see how different that is to a normal circuit. So for this one, I'm going to take our police cruiser because that has a little bit more strength. Mainly because the track, as I mentioned, has a crossover in it, and you want to be able to survive getting T-boned maybe once. Alrighty, here we are. Alright, we got our nitrous right from the beginning. Now, I haven't raced on this map before, and despite all the cross tracks being largely the same idea, they've been done very differently every single time. I will say the tracks are very nice. They're very much inspired by a lot of games like Split Second, Burnout, and Need for Speed. But at the same time, they have their own flavor to them, and all of the tracks so far have been very unique to look at. Now you can see the health bars of enemies popping up when I hit them. Enemies? Yeah, other racers. Well, technically they are enemies. So, of course, if you manage to fully deplete one of their health bars, you're going to knock them out of the race completely. Which you can do, but the races I found are a little too short to attempt doing that. So for me, it's not been possible yet. But that being said, if you drive a big SUV, you're more than likely going to have a good time with that. I think the best way to describe it is you've got to stay ahead by any means necessary. And yes, killing your opponents is absolutely necessary. So something else that I found out very recently, which I was not aware was even in the game. If you have a head-on collision with anything, whether it's a wall or a car, your driver will actually be flung out of the windshield. Now, I would have thought that racing events have seatbelts and harnesses, but I guess that's not the case here in Trailout. So, it's quite comical when it happens. But yeah, like most crashes, you just reset and off you go. So we came in last there, that's not good. But we can always just very quickly restart. Alrighty, here we go. And we can pit maneuver people. That's the other thing as well. The AI is not perfect. They can make mistakes, just like you can. So they can run into things, they can spin out. So what that means is they can sometimes have a mistake that you can take advantage of. Or they'll also attempt to knock you out, which you can take advantage of too. So you don't always have to... There we go, that Metro just tried to take me out. Tiny little hatchback coming up after a police car. But yeah, you can pit maneuver people. So if I pit maneuver Joe Boomer over here, now he's spun around and away we go. Now you can also play from different camera angles. We've got a slightly wider camera over here. We also have first person if you're, you know, insane. So as we're coming around here, we're coming up to one of the crossover points as well. And you can see just how deadly those can be. If you just get it at the wrong time, you just get T-boned by somebody coming the other way. And yeah, I've tried. There's not really an easy way to see whether it's coming or not. And now that we've completed a few races, we can collect some donations. So we got $14 from a fan there. And of course we can hit the broadcast button and get some more fans. Because why not? Alright, here we are with the mono class race. And it looks like we're all in this little hatchback. Which I can't really tell whether it's a Geo Metro. I think it is a Metro. It kind of looks like one. Like I said, all of the cars are based on real-world cars, and this does quite look like one. At the end of the day, this is a $20 game that has more content in it than I've seen from some AAA titles. And it's a lot of fun. It runs really well, although it may not seem like it at first. That's just because the recording of this game tends to mess with the frame rate. Without that, it runs buttery smooth 60 FPS, and yeah, for roughly $20, I really can't complain at all. And yeah, honestly, the worlds are really nicely decorated as well. The tracks all have loads of debris around them to crash into and make a mess of. There are spectators around. The world that they've created for a lot of these tracks are just so wonderfully decorated. They actually feel alive. And as I cross the line in 5th, I'd like to say, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. And of course, comment down below if you want to see more of this game. And of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. My name is Panzer, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.